where your contract is showing one name and then when everything processed and your work permit, it's reflecting something else. That's gonna be a problem. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Remember to invite your friends and family over, all right? In today's video, we'll be talking about contracts. You know, these are legal documents between you and your employer. You know, right? But I wanted to point out some elements of the contract, especially when you're coming to China as an ESL teacher, leaving wherever you're leaving, especially Jamaica. You know, you want to ensure certain elements are included and you're clear on those, all right? So from my experience, I'll be sharing, and just a disclaimer, this is for informational purposes, so you make an informed decision. All right, so every contract will look a bit different. However, the elements, very important, the elements should remain the same in the sense where this should be mentioned in that contract. Now, I have my notebook, so I'll be looking down to confirm information. So the very first thing with the contract is that you want it to identify the name of your employer and where that particular workplace is. Right? Very important, and you do need to keep note of this because you don't want a case where your contract is showing one name and then when everything processed and your work permit, it's reflecting something else. Damn! That's gonna be a problem. I'll give you a story time to that at a later date. It's definitely gonna come though. All right, anyways, it says ensure all necessary information is there. So like I mentioned, you need to know the name of your employer, their address. You need to know that. That is very important to state as well. And of course, your details needs to be on that contract, which you know you'd have already given you'd have engaged in the interview process. So they will normally state your name and your passport number. Importantly, you want your contract to state when it's going to start, which is its effective date, and when it will end. All right, like I mentioned in this one, usually when you physically come in China, say you're leaving Jamaica, you'll be given an initial contract, and when you come to China, you sign another one in the sense that the date will change, right? In terms of your start date might change. All right, so you want to ensure as well that your salary is quoted on your contract, and this needs to be in the local currency, which is the Chinese currency. I mean, if you have an international school that's quoting in other currency, then I guess that's good for you, right? So you want to ensure your salary is properly quoted, and it needs to state whether it's before taxation or after taxation. Very important. You need to know whether that salary is before tax or after tax have been taken out. All right, so payment date. Now, the payment date in China, based on my experiences and that of people that I know of, it's usually the 8th, 10th, 15th, 12th, 20th of the month, right? And just as I'm mentioning that in a general sense, most schools that are more Chinese than anything else in terms of its operation, they pay the following month on that specific date. For example, you started working September 1st. You are not entitled to September's salary until the following month. Say, for example, that employer is paying on the 15th of the month. So on October 15th rather, would be when you receive September's salary, and so on and so forth. You do have international schools, however, that may pay you within that specific month that you have worked. Just like we're used to in Jamaica, we work September 1st throughout September 30th, about the 29th or month end of September, you're getting your salary. So you do have international schools that do this. However, in a general sense, most schools will pay you the next month on the specific date that the contract states. So just to let you be aware, and as me telling me, I give it to no 100, so me a level with you know. All right, so accommodation, this is very important to be stated. Now, it's either they are going to say free accommodation, which means they, the employer, are providing you with housing, and if they are, they need, it would be helpful for them to state, okay, is it a 1-bedroom, whatever, go in detail. I mean, it only helps you to have a fair idea. However, as I'm mentioning this, some employers will have different documents that speaks to different things. For example, in the contract, it may state that accommodation is provided, but in terms of the detail as to whether it's 1-bedroom or whatever, they may give you a housing contract, which will give you the detail of that. So that is fine as well. As I mentioned, different employers will do things a bit different. However, in a general sense, you must be provided with accommodation or accommodation allowance as a foreigner here working in China. You're supposed to be provided with that. And if they say that they're going to give you accommodation allowances, it must state in your contract how much they are going to give you. And it must also state that this is payable every month. Now, like I am mentioning about China in terms of accommodation, I'll create a video. Yes, I'll create a video that give you an idea, right, of what some apartments look like and possible cost of, you know, different apartments. So I'll create a video specific for that. So, but just in a general sense, you want to bear in mind that it's every 3 months that rents are actually paid, and most employers, I don't know how this makes sense. This part will me not understand or it makes sense, but then again, as me telling enough things not gonna make sense. But anyways, so rent are paid every 3 months, right? However, your employer will want to pay every month.
Oh my God! Wow!
So in other words, your money would be, if it is the case where, let me disclaim, if it's the case where you're taking or you're being given housing allowance, oftentimes you would have to pay up front. Well, it's easier for you if you've already been in China, but if you're outside of China, they can give you loan to cover the 3 months. But point of which I'm making is that they'll want to give you the housing allowance every month with your salary, which in fact they know rent is paid every 3 months. So in other words, sometimes it's going to require a little bit of you to or you to get loan from them to cover that 3 months plus deposit plus all of that. But like I mentioned, the rent aspect and accommodation and apartment aspect, I'll create a video for that separately and show you some stuff and discuss that. So remember, the point of which I'm making, in your contract, it's very important for you to state whether you're being given housing allowance or accommodation. If you're being given accommodation, it will be very nice if within that contract they can specify what, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, bathroom, whatever, or they give you another document which goes in detail about that. All right, so very important, the work hours and work days. You need to know, you know, your days off, your work time, when you start, when you end, and all of that information, so you plan accordingly and you know what you're about. So generally work weeks are up to 40 hours per week. Overtime, you want to ensure that in the event of overtime, your contract speaks to how that particular employer will treat an overtime situation. All right, so insurance is a must. You have to be insured, so your employer must provide you with insurance. Now, different employer provide different type of insurance, and what you'd find too, sometimes some may be very useful as well as others won't, because it depends on the type of insurance or what is covered in that package that would be giving you benefits. Also, your contract needs to outline holidays, right? Hey, I have a story time about this too. So let me just note it. Your contract needs to outline holidays in terms of, are you going to be given a full paid winter holiday, which is usually probably 2 months or a month, and a 2 month summer? Are you being fully paid? Are you half paid? What exactly? Right? So you need to be explained to in that contract about your holiday arrangement. Are they giving Western holidays like Christmas, New Year's, what? I think in a general sense they do give New Year's, but like Christmas, it depends on whether it's an international school or a school that acknowledge Western holidays. All right, so that's for holidays, because you want to ensure it's really specified, because this period a lot of employer will use this as an opportunity to say, okay, no full salary, they save a little money. Or if it's a case where they are using a company, a recruiting company that they are paying, you know, they'll take this as an opportunity to slice your money and take their part of it. So as I say, may I level with you know, so you are informed. All right. Sick leave and personal time off. You want to ensure that your contracts specify how much you're allowed and the process of applying for each, right? And of course, so you can plan according, not that you're going to plan sleep, but you get what I'm saying. So you know what benefits you're going to be allotted to if in the event you're sick or you need to take personal leave. Resignation procedure. Now this is very important. Very important, because you want to ensure, all right, so this is especially for Jamaicans. I don't know about anywhere else but Jamaica. I know that you can give your 30 days notice, and you know, it's not a huge deal where you need an exit document. Say you get your reference from your employer, given you still have a good relationship and you'd have maintained this to the end of which you'd stop working. But here, especially with teaching, because that's what I'm doing, so you want to ensure you know the resignation procedure. And can I add, which this is probably going to be another story I tell one day, is that you can give proper notice and still the employers end up making situations for you. But in other words, you cannot move from one job without your exit documents from that employer. So yes, you cannot move on to another job unless you get your exit document.
Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
You cannot move on to another job unless you get your exit documents, which means your employer have most of the power, and of course they can decide to be vindictive, which a lot have been known to be. So you know, you want to be careful of this and ensure you understand the process and all of that. All right, so terms and conditions of the contract. You know, if there are specific terms, you want to ensure whatever terms that there needs to be acknowledged is properly stated and you understand. So ensure you get clarity as much as possible on the contract and the different elements that they specify to get understanding. Because can I tell you, they like to play mind games and, you know, take advantage of situations. All right, role and duties of each party of the contract. Very important is for this to be noted. Now, in a general sense, employers are supposed to pay for your medical, they are supposed to pay for your work permit and your residence permit. You will have some, and in a general sense, yes, we know it's expensive to hire foreigners to teach, but these are stuff that they are actually supposed to do by law, as far as I'm aware. But some will come up with some type of way to get you to pay one or the other. So, you know, something you want to note. All right, contractual renewal process. How can we renew the contract? Now, based on my experience, I know like a month prior to when your contract would end, you start renegotiate your new contract or just have a discussion to see where their minds are at and whether or not you want to leave for another place of employment. And of which you have to get your exit documents. All right, so any verbal agreement, don't word of mouth. Listen, I laugh because sometimes things are even in your contract and they will want to try to go around it. So in other words, any agreements that are being made, it's very important for you to stipulate and stick out for that to be in a written form in the contract. If there are bonuses being given, for example, completion of contract bonus, this also needs to be stated. If there is flight reimbursement, this also needs to be stated. Now, this is the fine print that they don't tell you. A lot of contracts will state up to 10,000 RMB or up to this amount. That's an indefinite statement, which means it can be anywhere between that amount up to the highest. Now, usually there is a way how they do this to ensure that they benefit, in the sense that, for example, I got a job where the flight reimbursement said up to 10,000 RMB, right? But guess what? Of course, unless you're going really a place that is far, probably returning to Jamaica or somewhere, then it might cost up to 10,000 RMB. But if you're going to vacate in China, it's not going to be that expensive for you to go. So the thing that this employer came up with is that they wanted to do only one-time payment of this flight reimbursement amount, which means it highly likely that the amount is going to be below 10,000 RMB, which means they pocket the rest and that type of a thing. So there are these little loopholes and these little things that you may want to ensure you clarify with the interviewer or the human resource person, so you level your expectations, because they do have their conditions and their ways of going around things. And that's just the reality. So I am telling you this to make informed decision, right? That's just what it is, informed decision. All right, let me see if there are anything else that I'd like to mention that your contract should include. I think I would have mentioned some of the very important stuff. I mean, yeah, I think I covered it. So basically, if you have any questions, you can feel free to leave those questions in the comment section and I'll answer as best as I can. And of course, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and you were informed, and you can make informed decision if you do decide to do an ESL job or just any job in China, to be exact. All right, thank you so much for watching. Bye.